Hello everyone, welcome to Bubble Food X. I'm Yuhan. I'm from Taiwan and now living in Sydney. I'm excited today to kick off the very first recipe for our Chinese herb soup series. It's called 4 Herbs Pork Rib Soups. In Taiwan, soups are a big part of the family meals. I grew up with dinners always has soup on the table. The reasons I choose these 4 herbs pork rib soups as the very first recipe is not only because this is very common and well known in Taiwan, but also it has a very interesting story behind it. In Qing Dynasty, Emperor Qianlong traveled to southern China. Because of the humid and hot weather in southern China, he and his team feel very tired and weak. The palace doctor who traveled with them created this recipe to cure everyone in the team, including Emperor Qianlong. The emperor, he's so happy, and he loved this recipe so much. This ended up become one of the common dishes in the Forbidden City. I know this will be a very new adventure of any of you not familiar with any of the Chinese herb soup. No worries. I will provide you with a lot of details about this Chinese herb and where you can get it. I will also provide you with a lot of detailed step-by-step guidance in this video. Let's get started now. I'm going to show you what we need to cook this 4 herbs Chinese soup, including the tips of selecting these ingredients. Firstly, it's about the meat we need. We need pork ribs and the pork stomach tips. About the pork ribs, I recommend you to go to butcher instead of the supermarket, because usually if you go to butcher, you can ask them to slice it into the thinner strips like this. I recommend you to choose American ribs instead of other meat ribs, because other type of pork ribs usually is more fatty and it can cause the soup become more greasy. As to the pork stomach tips, if you don't like it, you can swap it into same amount of the pork ribs. The pork stomach tips, it tastes a little bit chewy than the normal pork stomach. If you like the softer taste, you can change it into the pork stomach instead of the pork stomach tip. Because pork stomach tip is the end part of the pork stomach. Just noted that the size of one pork stomach is way bigger than one pork stomach tips. So you might have a lot of leftover if you buy pork stomach instead. If you don't like pork at all, you can change it into other meat. I will recommend chicken is a good substitute. Next, it's about cooking wine. Cooking wine provides a very important and good aroma to this 4 herbs pork rib soup. Traditionally in Taiwan, we use this type of cooking wine. It's made from the rice, so we call it cooking rice wine. In Australia, you can find it in the Asian supermarkets. However, if you don't have it or not able to find it near where you live, just feel free to go to the bottle shop or the liquor shop to get the cheap white grape wine. I use it quite a lot these days. It will still taste very good. We also need 17 grams of ginger. I slice it into these thinner pieces. It is around 0.2 to 0.3 centimeter. Ginger plays a very important role in this soup. The reason is because it helps remove the odor from the porks, and it also provides a very good aroma in combination with the cooking wine we use. We need 1.5 liter of water. We also need a bit of black pepper and salt. But if you don't have black pepper, it's totally fine for you to skip it. Now we are going to talk about the most important part of our ingredients. 4 key herbs that we need for this 4 herbs pork rib soup. The first one is lotus seeds. Lotus seed is an edible seed from the lotus plant. It can be in the dessert and it can also be made in savory dishes like the soup we are cooking today. It is very mild and it improves our sleep. I like it very much because it also gives a little bit of sweet taste to the soup. The second one is Chinese yam. It's called Shan Yao in Mandarin. You can find a fresh form in the vegetable shop from time to time, but not too often in Australia. But you can always find a dried one in the Asian supermarket. and it is usually in this type of slice form. It is very good for our lung and also our digesting system. The third one is this one, golden Euryale seeds. It's also called fox nuts. I quite like this one as well. Once it is cooked in the soup, it will look like a popcorn. It's quite cute. The benefit of this one is to help our digesting system as well, especially for our kidney and spleen. Oh, I forgot to say just now. The Mandarin name of this one called Qian Shi. The last one is this. It's called Poria coccus or Indian bread. In Mandarin, we call it Ling. It can be in this kind of cube shape, or sometimes you can see the one that is in a flat shape like this one. They are all the same. I asked the staff in the Chinese medicine shop. They told me it's just the different way they cut it when they process it. The benefit of Poria coccus, including strengthen our spleen, promote our digesting system, calm our mind, and also reduce the excessive dampness in our body. The excessive dampness will make us feel tired for no reason. This is the symptom that the Emperor Qianlong and his team had. These 4 herbs is actually very common in Asian cooking. To obtain these 4 ingredients in Australia, you can easily find them in the Asian supermarket. And luckily, I go to check for all you guys. In the Asian supermarket, they sold it in the small pack, like around 70 to 80 grams for each of them for a pack, which means that you don't need to worry that you will have a lot of leftover ingredient after you tried it for one time. The other places you can get this herb is the Chinese medicine shop. In this Chinese medicine shop, normally you will be able to buy the exact amount you required in general. So it's also a good place to go if there is one near where you live. The last ingredients that I would like to introduce to you is this goji berry. It is not one of the key herbs that you must add into this soup. However, I will highly recommend you adding it. The reason is because it makes the soup looks really nice. And the most important reason is goji berry is actually very healthy. It's actually a very strong antioxidant and also promote our eye health a lot. Goji berry has a very wide use. It can be used in the savory soup and dishes, and it can also be used in the dessert. You don't need to worry that you won't be able to use up your goji berry because you can find a small package in the Asian supermarket as well. Also, goji berry is actually one of the very common ingredients in Taiwanese cooking. So follow Bubble Food X. In the future, you will get more recipes that use goji berry as one of the ingredients in the recipe. Knowing all the ingredients we need, now we are going to start to prepare our ingredients. Firstly, we have to soak all the herbs that we just introduced in the water for at least 30 minutes to an hour. If you want to cook it as the dinner after work, this is what you can do. Like put all of them into the bowl like this and soak them in the water and freeze it overnight. It's totally fine. The reason we soak it in the water is because they are all dried ingredients. The longer that they are soaked in the water, the softer they will be. This means that we don't need to boil or simmer them for a very long time in order to get them cooked. The second important step to prepare our ingredient is to make sure that we boil our pork ribs and pork stomach tips. The reason is to make sure that we remove their oil and to also remove all those dirty substances. Place the raw pork ribs and pork stomach tips in the pot and add cold water. Then bring it to a boil over medium heat. Avoid covering the pot with a lid. As you can see, there is a lot of dirty substance floating above the water and also the excessive blood that from the pork ribs. This is very important step to make sure that we remove all this stuff. Once you start to see the water is start to boil, it's a timing that we are going to turn off the flame. Use strainer to transfer pork ribs and pork stomach tips to another bowl. Rinse them under the cold water. This makes sure we can wash away all the dirty substance. Cut the pork ribs into small chunks. Slice the pork stomach tips into 1 cm thick pieces. Okay, everything is prepared. Let's start to cook it. Add sliced ginger, 4 key herbs, small pork ribs, sliced pork stomach tips, and water to the pot. Make sure the water level is slightly above all ingredients. Bring the water to a boil over high heat. After the water is boiled, reduce to medium-low heat and let it shimmer for 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, we are going to add the goji berry and cooking wine. After we use high heat to bring it to boil again, we keep shimmering the soup for another 20 minutes over low heat. Another 20 minutes afterward, it's time to add the salt and black pepper. If you don't like black pepper, you can skip it. And adjust the amount of the salt as you like. Before we serve it, I recommend you using spoon to skim away the oil floated above the soup. It is normal that pork ribs release some oil while shimmering. Although this is not compulsory, but this will help keep the soup lighter. See? We skim away so many oil. I feel a sense of achievement. Alternatively, if you plan to enjoy the soup the next day, store it in the fridge. The oil will solidify on the surface, make it easy to be removed. It's tasting time now! Because this full-herb pork rib soup contains a lot of good protein and low GI carbohydrate, so I quickly fry some veggie before we start to taste it. It will be a good balanced and healthy meal for dinner or lunch. Let's start with it one by one. This is lotus seeds. The lotus seeds become very soft because we soak it for a very long time. And this is the one that is a popcorn-like seed, and it tastes really good. I always like it. These Poria crackers, you can eat it, but it tastes a bit dry. This is the nature of the ingredients. Because this is very healthy, I will still eat 1 or 2 of them, but I usually just eat a few of them and keep the rest of them just in the leftover. But if we soak it for a very long time, it will still helpful, make it softer and taste better. And this one? This is Chinese yam. You see, once we soak it and cook it, it becomes bigger, as you can also see, because it's actually quite thick itself. It is very thin because when it was dried. So it is very important that we soak it long enough to make sure that when we cook it, the middle of it is thoroughly cooked. It's soft enough. And this is the pork stomach tips. I like it. It's chewy. But I know some people don't like to eat it. Don't feel stressed that you need to use it. You can totally swap it into the same amount of pork ribs. I like it. And let's try some pork ribs now. It's really nice. And it's very soft. We cook it 40 minutes in total, so it's very soft now. Let's try the soup now. Oh, the soup broth itself is really good. It's a combination of the aroma from the ginger, those herbs ingredients, and also the cooking wine. And it's also not greasy at all. Remember, because we skim off the oil before we have it. So it's very healthy soup. Let's have some veggie. This will be my lunch later. Also, if you cannot finish all the soup in one night, no worries. Just put them in the fridge to put it overnight. Actually, it will taste even better the next day. I don't know why, but usually if you put it overnight, the soup itself will develop even more richer taste. I hope you enjoy making and having this 4 herbs pork rib soup. Remember, if you don't like pork at all, feel free to change it into chicken. It will still be very tasty. If you like this recipe and video, please press like. If you want to know more about Taiwanese food and family recipes, don't forget to press subscribe button. I will see you next time. Bye bye. Oh, I forgot to say just now. If you have any question, please feel free to leave a comment below. I'll read it and reply to you.